Everybody, I thought I'd also give some input on other projects. So I'm looking at Monkey See, Monkey Dance, and just setting things up to be how they were when I started. So again, using a constant pixel size does cause some problems on different screens. So for example, if I were to open up Options panel, it gets all wacky at different resolutions. I know it's supposed to be 19 at this orientation, but if we're trying to support different devices, who knows what they are? Especially on Android, there's thousands. Not only do you get weird stuff like, in this particular case, it's getting cut off, but you do a scale, and whatever you sized your, I don't know what your initial resolution was, but using that as your scale, then now in all settings, things don't go all over the place. That's just a recommendation, is using that option and then sizing your thing to using the reference resolution that you designed it at. So there's that. And then even if it's like a vertical orientation, like I can still see the buttons. I might want to mess with the settings more to get them to where we want to be in both setups. Probably dependent on the setup, like you would swap out which buttons you use. But anyway, so we've got that. Some other things I noticed where depending on whatever resolution I'm at, these start to break down. Actually, maybe I could base this 1410 by 741, 2048 by 1479. Let's add a new one. 2048 by 1479. I'm unfamiliar with that resolution, but it's probably one of them. So let's go in here, and it was 2048 by 1479. I'll press play and I'll see what it looks like. Boom. Okay, so when I scale it to this, some things get a little off, but I'm not sure what the initial resolution was, so it's hard for me to say. It all depends. So it's bad to scale things to be the size of the screen, like the options panel. Look at it in scene view, and then further offset it negative, because then you run the risk of going beyond the screen's contents. So the pivot is correct, but we need the pivot to be within the bounds of its parent. So those are some initial feedbacks. Use the other video provided for ways of resolving these issues, like vertical layout groups, and those types of things. The other suggestion I have, which is why this is a new video, is I noticed that there are images in the background, and just a recommendation in case it's useful. Depending on the background's scale, you'll notice like, if I'm in a different resolution, then it starts getting weird or stretchy. And it could go the other way if you're in a longer phone than usual when it's horizontal or landscape orientation. It would still look a little stretchy. Just it's more obvious with the switching it from horizontal to landscape to portrait. So one way to resolve this issue is, if you want this to be a background, let's go to that image, and instead of having it set up as a let's see if I can go back to the main screen here. And where is this particular background? Start panel. There it is. Fruit. Where are you at? There you are. So you could select this and say repeat. Instead of repeat, you can do, I think it originally was set up to be clamp or something along those lines. But I wanted to repeat. See what happens if let's see what like other textures were set to. Yeah, clamp. It's normally clamp, but I was messing around. If I set it to clamp, let's see what happens. And to per axis, I want it to be able to repeat. Yeah, I just want it to be able to repeat. Let's see what happens. And then I probably need to change another setting over on the image itself in the UI. Pop over, there it is. Probably a preserve aspect option, okay, and then tiled. Yep, you set it to tiled, and then it will tile itself across that resolution. So as you can see, the image is quite large. So if I do pixels per unit multiplier 0.1, oh, other direction. 2, 3, 5, 8. Looks good. So now, no matter what resolution I'm at, it'll always look good. It won't ever get stretchy, and you can size it to whatever you want. All you'd have to do is, as I can see a seam here, is you'd make sure that it's a repeating image. But yeah, that's the suggestion that I have for this particular video. Please refer to the previous one for suggestions about making buttons always be good sizes and that type of thing. But this is exactly what I was talking about, with having buttons being their own elements that you then put text in. That just makes the art project much cleaner and much easier to manage. So now you have only a few sprites to work with. I'd even go a step further than this, because they're all the same, and I'd make it a grayscale image that you then multiply a color over. That way you only have one image instead of 3. It makes packaging all that much smaller, and that's really important for mobile devices. Anyway, those are my initial feedbacks on this particular project. Keep up the great work, and I'll see you all next Friday.